Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is Aneri Katani. I'm a reporter with the national nonprofit KFF Health News. I cover mental health and addiction-related issues, so this is right up my alley, and I was really excited to watch it. I hope you all were as well and learned a bunch. We have with us here today like an awesome panel of folks. So I'm going to introduce them and ask a few questions, but then if you all have questions, it's really to prioritize your time. So think about them and I will come to you shortly. So first we have Ben Flaherty, who's the director. We have producer Kara Greenberg. We have Cap Nair, who you saw in the film. We'll get to that in a bit. And we have Justin Ben-Oliel, the executive producer. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for creating such a wonderful film for us. So I will start with actually Cap, because I didn't give a title with you. I'm wondering, you were in the film, but you were anonymous at the time. You're here with us wanting to talk about this. Tell us what changed.
So I think during the filming, we were in the midst of a lot of back and forth with a lot of legal ramifications, essentially. And so just as a retaliatory kind of protective endeavor for myself, chose to stay anonymous. Now that that bankruptcy thing is over and done with, I feel like I can step into the limelight and speak on this. It's a very important topic, still it's very timely. And we need to do something to change it, so thanks for being here.
Thanks. Ben, I wanted to ask you, the film starts with your personal story. Why was it important to you not just to kind of be here after the fact, talking about it, maybe share it, but to embed yourself from the get-go?
Well, I wasn't always in the film. In fact, many cuts over the course of years, I was not in, other than to be the person communicating off camera with the talent. I think a couple things. I think one was, how could I expect these people to share their stories without me sharing mine? And it really was the way in. Had I not had the experience that I had, I wouldn't have been propelled to do this. I had an experience that was simple, straightforward, and transformative. And I would use none of those words to describe what I encountered on a larger scale. So for comparison's sake as well, I think it needed to be said. And also it was important to know that despite how it may come across at times, like I firmly believe in treatment. I believe that there's great treatment, and it changed my life. So it's out there. It's just it's convoluted, to say the least.
And I'd love for maybe all of you to weigh in on this as much as you can. Cap, you said it's a relevant problem today. As a reporter, I know that some of the issues around body brokering, states have taken action against it. We see in the film that the FBI has gotten involved. So there's been some action steps. How much of what we saw here is still a problem today? What has changed?
Not much has changed, unfortunately. Things have just become more convoluted, complicated, murky, and innovative, unfortunately. So there's been a revitalization of some of the old practices of brokering. There's new formats of middlemaning. With the interstate kind of where a specific policy is written, there's specific out-of-network benefits that have been maximized, and human trafficking, or we'll call it body brokering rather, is on an all-time high essentially. So insurance is fully aware of this, but like nothing is being done even from the insurance vantage, and everyone, it seems like it's a consistent money grab. So very much still a pervasive issue.
Any of us, do you want to weigh in on that?
That was well said. I also think it's important to note that there are many things that can happen that are bad and unethical before the law gets broken. So, brokering has like a salacious name to it, and the details of that can be equally salacious, and a lot of that illegal. But there's a whole gray area before that, that we were hoping to sort of make clear in the film. And it's not, again, that treatment is bad or that Obamacare is bad, because it certainly isn't. But there are things about it that make one susceptible to certain things. I mean, it's the money behind this. It's the other half of the conversation that we want to have. Yeah, that's it.
You didn't know this, but you teed up my next question perfectly, so thank you. I'm going to ask this last one and then come to you all. So if you all have questions, make sure you're thinking of them. We hear a few times in the film that sobriety is at odds with profit. And so treatment facilities, to some extent, some don't want people to get better because that means they're not making money off of them. At the same time, we need treatment. We have a lot of folks who, in our country, who are dealing with addiction. So how do we balance that? What kind of regulation or what else would help to make sure that we need treatment needs to exist, but treatment seems to be at odds with the goals?
It's a great question. I think there's one very simple thing that we could do, which is that the insurance reimbursements, these could be based on healthy outcomes for facilities. And I mean, that's real simple. It will be an impossible thing to get done, I think, because that would really raise the bar and hold hands to the fire. I think there's something else that I'll say just about the macro sort of economics of treatment, and it's that we've created a policy to help people, right? The thing that was shocked me that I understood was that not treating people is incredibly expensive for the federal government. Incredibly expensive. The act of treating them, and by treating them I mean engaging them in a formatted set of programming, reduces those costs drastically. No one has to get sober in that program of services for those costs to be reduced. So the policy to engage people in the act of treatment saves the federal government and the states an incredible amount of money. It's also incredibly profitable in the private sector. So there's all of these massive financial forces bearing down on this tiny person trying to get sober. And that's kind of who we're fighting for and why we made this film.
So if anyone has a question now, feel free to raise your hand. I don't know if we have a mic.
I don't think I think I'm making.
All right, go for it.
I am just fascinated that the insurance companies know, you're saying no or aware, and they're not doing anything, because I ran a co-op, nonprofit insurance company, and couldn't believe the amount of money the Uniteds and the Cignas were spending to get people to go to the doctor just to get a diagnosis checked on their form so they could get a little reimbursement under the risk program. So I'm just dumbfounded how they're sitting there saying, let's just write the $1 million checks, and you hear all these other stories about how they don't let people get the simplest procedure because they don't want to pay them out.
That is a very good point. This is a soapbox moment for me, so just forgive me for a second. I worked at Liberation Way. After that, I was really dumbfounded with insurance, so I decided to work for insurance. I worked for Optum. Is that okay to say? I've worked for Optum for quite some time, and I literally don't understand why they do the things that they do. I worked with Optum throughout COVID, trying to discern why they authorize specific things, deny specific things, and then how out-of-network maximums continue to occur and why they continue to give out money frivolously for things that don't necessarily align with the need. I don't get it. I did that for 6 years. I still don't understand why they did what they did. That's just how they do it. I did figure out that on the receiving end, when a provider receives, so some of these PPO policies also do a pay-to-patient kind of exchange. And so part of the out-of-network benefit is the client's opting to use out-of-network benefits to access a specific type of facility that is not aligned with or in network with that specific insurer. Because it's the patient's decision, the insurer will then send a check for the amount due to that specific provider directly to the patient. That sometimes doesn't end up going to the facility, right? And so for the facility vantage point, that's unmet pain, right? So that's charity care. That becomes a tax deduction at the end of the year. That's the only thing I figured out. I still don't understand insurance, really.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only decent role we can count on insurance companies doing is to be the police of appropriate services.
Yeah.
And they can't even do that.
Well, Well, and I think that, I think also that another simple answer is that in terms of why they would cover this repeatedly, but not some other services that seem basic, this is considered an essential health benefit in that policy, which some of a wide variety of other services are not. So they will cover it repeatedly. Makes it even more important that this become based on healthy outcomes, you know? The other thing I would say about insurance is that, I don't know the exact figures, but it's a common myth that the insurance company is always the one paying those bills. That's not necessarily true. Many large companies have an employee health fund, but just because of the economies of scale, it makes it easier for them to actually pay for those services, which you can imagine in this situation, that becomes like a blank check, you know, because those employers are really concerned with keeping their employees happy. So let's pay their premiums, let's pay their bills. So it's really sort of a convoluted situation to make it even more complicated. And at worst, they stopped covering all services in an area. Cigna did that, I think, in 2015 in Florida. And then there's people who actually need that care, right? They can't get it, so it's a mess.
Right there.